that endeavour. It is given to those who have left an indelible impact in their chosen field and who have advanced discourse and societal thought in the process. The award was founded by Mary Robinson, a former auditor of the Law Society, and of course the first female president of Ireland. Rarely bestowed, the recipients of this honour include Sir Bob Geldof, Sarah Rafferty, Max Schrems, Lord Newberger, and Samantha Power. Recipients this year include Liam Gallagher, Stephen Fry, Nicola Sturgeon, Gina Miller, and Tiny Tempa, to name but a few. This year in particular, the Law Society wishes to place an emphasis on empowering students not only in their careers, but in their everyday lives. And it is for this reason that Mr. Horan has been nominated. Mr. Horan is an Irish singer and songwriter from Mullingar. He rose to prominence as a member of the boy band One Direction, formed in 2010 on the X Factor. With the band, Horan claimed 4 UK number ones and sold more than 85 million records worldwide. Following the band's hiatus in 2016, Mr. Horan embarked on a solo career with Capitol Records. His debut album, Flicker, debuted at number 1 in Ireland and the US, and his second album, Heartbreak Weather, debuted at number 1 in the UK, Ireland, and Mexico. As a solo artist, he boasts hit singles such as Nice to Meet You, No Judgement, This Town, and Slow Hands. Mr. Horan is receiving the Praeses Elit Award in recognition of his incredible talent and work ethic, which is famously underscored by a distinct humility despite unthinkable success. Despite the heights he has reached, he maintains a distinct Irishness and affiliation with his roots. This award aims to recognise those who empower students in their everyday lives, and Mr. Horan undoubtedly not only matches this criteria, but exceeds it. So without further ado, and with a particular thanks to our sponsors, Evershed Sutherland, it is my sincere pleasure to, unfortunately virtually, although maybe it's better that it's virtual, considering the harassment that we got from fans in the last few weeks, present Mr. Horan with the 2020 Praeses Elit Award. So it's been sent over to you, but I'm not sure if you've received it yet.
I haven't received it yet, just yet. So, you know what it's like at the moment with the post. No, but God, when I heard about this, I was absolutely blown away. Thank you for even thinking of me. And I mean, all we have to do is listen to that whole thing that you just said, and you know, the recipients of this award previously, and who it was set up by, and all of that, and it makes so much sense for me to accept it. Obviously, being an Irishman, there are a couple of things that I like to carry around with me, and I'm glad that you say I have a distinct Irishness, because I'm very proud to wave the flag for Ireland all over the planet. I've tried my best to carry that around with me for the last 10 years, and hopefully I can do it forever. I love being an ambassador for our great country. Another thing I like to carry around is my work ethic. I feel like I try and work very hard, and I'm glad that there is an award for both of those things. Well, yeah, the list of recipients that you just reeled off there is just insane, and to say that I am a part of that list in such a distinct award means a lot to me and to my family. I know that both my parents have messaged me this morning saying how proud they are, and yeah, I'm proud of it as well, because it's a big deal in our country, and thank you very much for allowing me to be a part of it.
No problem. Thank you very much for accepting. I really appreciate it.
Hello, everyone. I'm around.
So I think just to start with the interview, you were only 16 when you were thrust into the limelight on the X Factor, and I guess I'm sure you've been asked this thousands of times before, but how was that entire experience for you, and how did you cope with, I suppose, leaving your country at such a young age and becoming a global superstar overnight?
God, just kind of taking it as it came, I suppose. You know, there's no book for it. You can't, you know, we were lucky that we were surrounded by great people and had great management and you know, had great support. And I'm not sure if all artists have that, but I think that's the only book that we had, was, you know, to go off, was a lot of experience around us. And yeah, I mean, it was obviously shocking. Everything that happened was like mind blowing every second of the day. But it was, yeah, I mean, it's one of those ones that it's hard to explain unless you've done it yourself. And, you know, we amongst us have spoken about it and stuff like that, and it's still mind blowing to us of how big it got and how fat and how quick it went big. 1 minute I'm at home in Mullingar and packed a suitcase in probably September 2010 and never came back to this day, really. You know, I haven't been able to get home much even since, but yeah, it's just kind of the whirlwind of it. Just you just go with it, but I don't really know how I coped with it. I just kind of did. I don't know. Maybe there was something in my upbringing. Being Irish, we're generally quite humble people, and yeah, I just kind of rolled with it. And was before I knew it, I was in some of the biggest stars in the world, doing award shows and being in music videos and going on stage to thousands of people, and just kind of always kind of rolled with it. I never really thought too much into it. I always tried to keep myself excited. And actually, I say I tried. I didn't have to, because it was just such an exciting time. Everything we did was just mind blowing.
Yeah, and I mean, I'm sure it was a lot of fun, obviously, but it must have been quite tough as well. So, I mean, when you see similar things happen to young people, I mean, the likes of, obviously not on the same scale, but like Shawn Mendes and Billie Eilish and people like that, would you ever reach out to them to kind of offer them advice about the whole thing, or is that network something that exists?
No, 100%. There was a period where a lot of the artists were older, and you see now that a lot of artists, since like you say your Justin Bieber's, your One Directions, a lot of the artists that are coming through now are very young, like a lot younger. Like most of them are younger than me, and I'm 27, so that says a lot, So there is a lot to be said for looking out for your peers and your colleagues, if you like. I'm good friends with Shawn Mendes, for instance, and as you mentioned, and he, I've always been like, I guess he would say the same as well, kind of like his older brother, kind of like, I mean, he's an absolute superstar in his own right and deals with it very well. But he knows that at any point in time, and we've spoken about it previously, that if he needs a hand with anything or any questions or how to deal with this or how to do that, or he knows that I'll give him a straight and honest answer, because I guess if you're going to ask someone for a bit of advice, you want honesty. But I've always been there for him. Same with Lewis now, with him coming through and the immediate success that Lewis has had globally. Lewis Capaldi has seeing him kick off, and I think people, because he's such a big character, I think people forget that he's still only 22 or 3. He's still, in the grand scheme of things, very young. And same with Lewis, I'm sure, again, he deals with it very well himself, but he knows, again, and we've spoken about it, that if he ever needed any help or advice, that I would be there, because I feel like I've dealt with it all right over the years.
Yeah, absolutely. I guess in the aftermath of the X Factor, had you any idea, I suppose, at the time that One Direction would become as big as it did? And was there any part of you that kind of felt like it was too much too soon? Or, I mean, despite obviously your humble nature and stuff like that, were you prepared to be successful when you went over there, or was it just a case of giving it a go and seeing what would happen?
You give it a go, you see what happened. I watched the TV show for a long time. I loved the show for many years, so I was obviously just excited to be part of that. And you take it as you go. You're like, "What? Geez, I'm on each week." You get through each week, and you just take, as I said, you just go with it. After that, I don't know. Like, I don't know if anyone is ever prepared to be as publicized. I don't know what the word is, to be just out there as much as we were at the time. And yeah, like, I obviously would, when I was growing up, all I wanted to do was sing and play gigs and write songs and things like that. But no one is ever ready for that sort of level, I don't think. If they say they are, then they know something that we don't. Like, you just have to go with it and deal with it as it comes. You see certain artists over the years don't deal with it as well, and it gets to them in points, but they, with support, they can come back around. And then there's other artists who deal with it very well. It's just, people are completely different. The minute they're put into the public eye, it's in, their nature, how they react, or what, the people that they have surrounding them, or, their friends, their family. I was lucky to have a very good support group, so I was always going to deal with it quite well, I thought. Can't be said for everyone, but like, as I said, every person is different.
Yeah. I guess a major part of that would be kind of dealing with the success, is also dealing with the passion of your fans. I know, as I've experienced this week, I know you have some pretty passionate fans. Like, mean, on this, we've viewers in Brazil, America, Canada, and then like going back a bit, I mean, you had your whole spat with Dustin the Turkey, and they were trying to kill Dustin the Turkey. I know you settled that last night on the Den, but what has it been like dealing with that constant adoration? And I guess like two questions. I guess like, how have you remained humble with that? And does it ever get overwhelming, like that you can't even have a chat with Dustin the Turkey without somebody getting hurt? Like,
first of all, the Dustin thing was brilliant. Oh God, I did get some laugh out of it. Like, I think it's Dustin is so Irish, and it's like for myself and yourself, I assume we're around a similar age. We grew up on that, so we just know what Dustin's like. If you're from outside of Ireland, you're like, what's the story with the turkey? Like, why is he roaring abuse at Niall Horan? So I get it, but not a lot of people did. So it was funny to watch that explode. And then last night we obviously sorted our differences on the Den. Myself and a puppet turkey sorted our things out last night. It was all in very good, very good humor and lightheartedness. It was very, very funny. But yeah, in terms of the adoration, again, I don't know. Like, it just it comes with it, first of all, and then I don't know, just go along with it. I was like, this is incredible, and also know where you came from, and don't let it get to your head. I mean, you could very easily get to your head. You can see that it happens all the time, and that's even with people that are not even as famous. Like there's if you're anyway big-headed in Ireland, it'll be straight down, get down. So I felt like it was just in my nature to go along with it and take it as it comes. But it's just incredible to see the sheer scale of it, and we were lucky that we got to see it. A lot of artists see it in numbers and streams and sales, and we were lucky with the sales too. But we were going around the world and performing to 60, 70,000 people a night, and outside our hotel would be, I remember one time in Lima, Peru, there was the police did a head count, and outside the hotel there was 10,000 people.
Jesus.
Just outside the hotel, so not getting out of that hotel for a coffee.
Yeah.
But yeah, you just obviously in those times quite frustrating. I thought, being 19, 20 and not being able to step outside the hotel was tough. You've traveled the world and want to see it, but then again, the adoration is there because they love you, and it's kind of, you're always kind of battling with that at that age, especially at that age. I understand it now at 27, like I've been around it a few years, so I kind of understand it. But when you're 18, 19, 20 and you're doing whatever you're trying to do, what every other 18, 19, 20-year-old does, and that kind of stops you. But I completely get it now. Would have loved to have seen a bit more of the planet, but I accept the adoration over viewing the planet.
You mentioned previously, and I think you kind of touched on it at the start, that one thing that kind of helped you deal with everything was that you were surrounded by obviously a group of people who were going through exactly the same experience. So how is it then to kind of close that chapter and to lose that particular support group, I guess, and then move into a solo career?
Yeah, very different, of course. But I think what helps is having the experience up to that point. Now I know what to expect when I go to a TV show, when I step into an interview, when I get up on stage. I've got the experience of all of that stuff. Go into a photo shoot, do something like this. I've got, if I was doing it from the start, it'd be very different. I just know it as me. But now that I've got that experience behind me, you do, obviously, the first time I performed, without the lads, it was obviously like, kind of looking around going, well, they're not here anymore. Or when I sit doing an interview, when we would do an interview, I'd take an answer, then he'd take the next answer, and then that's disappeared. Even down to singing a whole song.
Yeah.
Like usually you'd sing a verse or a few lines and sing a chorus here and there, and then that's not there anymore. So it's kind of like that's all new experience, but the stuff, the thing, I knew what to do. I was still had the same management. I moved on to a new record label, but knew the people who were running the record label, so I knew what I was getting myself into everywhere I went. Yeah. Obviously, as I said, very different experience, but one that I'm just very kind of carefree in some aspects, but I just very like roll with it.
Yeah.
Like, and it's something that I keep saying because I obviously am, you know, I go with it and work as hard as I can to make sure that I get the best result out of what I've got in front of me. And yeah, just go with it because you don't know what's around the corner and you just have to kind of deal with it as it comes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You mentioned there kind of like the whole thing about singing a whole song. Was it different adjusting to, say, releasing songs like This Town, which is obviously deeply personal, than releasing songs which may have, I don't know, maybe an equal amount to do with your bandmates' experience or even more to do with them? And how was it kind of adjusting to having full creative license, I suppose, over what you were doing?
Yeah, obviously the thing with a band is, and I think everyone can understand that with 4 to 5 opinions, you know, it's obviously going to be tough on stuff, but not tough, like, but like not as easy. You know, when I sit down to write now, I know that it's about me for all of my experiences. I'm going to sing all of it. I know how I want it to sound. I know that I'm going to more than likely be playing a lot of the instrumentation on it, you know, being very tight with producers and stuff like that. So I I'm definitely glad I had all of that experience before, because it helps going into these rooms now. I know how I want it to sound. I know what I'm going to say. I know how I would like it to be released. I know how to like the music video to look like. I know how I want the merch to look like. I designed my own stage that I would have toured this year, never got to tour. But you know, like it's a good feeling. But I'm glad I had the experience beforehand, because you can make a lot of mistakes.
Yeah.
I'm glad I had all of that experience and know how beforehand. So when I step into this stuff now, I understand it a lot more. And also being 18, 19, 20 and being 27 are two completely different things. It's I didn't realize the growing up you do in that period, even in the last 3 or 4 years, I've noticed it.
Yeah. You mentioned just at the end there, kind of growing up, even in obviously there's a big difference between what One Direction were doing and what you did in your solo career. But even from your first album, which is quite kind of vulnerable, acoustic sounding and stuff like that, to Heartbreak Weather, which has more of a kind of like a confident sort of rock star-y feel even to it. Was that a conscious shift that you made, or is that just kind of you growing up and being more confident with the music? And
I'd imagine a bit of both. The reason I thought it was getting a bit more up tempo was when I, you know, the song, when I would perform on tour, and I got to tour the whole of 2000 and God, what year is it? 2018 toured, I think it was. And you know, getting out on stage every night and playing the songs that, like, I love going to live gigs, and there's nothing better than when you get the chance to rock out.
Yeah.
And you could see when you know, if I'm standing on stage and the whole place is looking at me, I can see the reactions on people's faces of what songs get them going. So when I went into the studio, then I was like, right, let's just go in and write as good a, you know, pop songs with a rock feel as we can. You know, and that's where all of the bigger tunes came from. I'll always be the guy with the ballads, I think. You know, I think people who kind of know me as the fellow, like, even I was working with Ryan Tedder of One Republic recently, and you know, I was like, maybe we could like stick a bit of like electric on that verse there, you know, like maybe just, I was coming up with all these like pedals and sounds and all this music stuff, and he was just like, you're the guy with the acoustic guitar. I was like, nah, fair. I get that. You know, people do obviously know me as, I mean, look at this picture in the background, the Eagles. I'm known as the guy with the acoustic, and you know, you can't lose that either. But I will also, like, I'm heavily influenced by rock and roll, and all of my favorite bands are rock bands, and I do love writing sad songs.
Yeah.
It's like, it's a lot easier to sit here and play something very sad, or pick up an acoustic guitar and talk about how sad you are, than it is to go in and get a full band together, or sit down and make drum beats, or, you know, whatever. It's a lot easier to do that. But the older I get, the more I feel like I want to get up on stage in arenas and play rock songs. And after I played the Royal Albert Hall recently, it just gave me more of a feel for that. And since I've been in the when I've been in the studio since the gig, I've just been like laying into the bluesier and rockier side of things.
Yeah.
still knowing that when I sit down at the piano, something lovely is going to come out.
Yeah. So it's good to find the mix then, I guess.
Yeah, exactly. I would like to be known to have two sounds.
Yeah.
You know, when you stick on the radio, you kind of know what's to be expected from you, and I kind of like that in a way.
Yeah. You mentioned there your love of live performing, and obviously before the coronavirus came around, you were kind of all set to go on a world tour with Lewis Capaldi as well, I think.
Yeah.
Okay, how did you handle that, and was it nice to have some time off, given that you've kind of been at it for however many years? Like,
Yeah. Well, you summed it up there. You know, I was obviously buzzing to get on the road. You know, I was going to be all over the planet. I think I would have just been finishing up around now. And I think our last gigs were in like Mexico City, or I think it was like Guadalajara or something like that, were our last couple of gigs, which is mad when you still think that we can play gigs over there. But yeah, it was like I would have loved to have done it. You know, I designed the stage. I was sitting on a plane back from the European Music Awards last year, the MTV Awards, and we started drawing the stage. It's like, I can't draw, but like I started like drawing what the stage would look like, getting creative people in. You know, you do all of that work, you know, lights, how it's going to look, how it's going to sound, make a set list. We rehearsed the whole set up until the end of Feb. You know, with the band, all that rehearsal time, we did weeks of it. Very excited to see the fans and like give them a chance to hear the album that they just bought, and then or they were going to buy, I should say. And then, yeah, I mean, I can't really complain about it. You know, I would have loved to have toured, but there's a lot more out there than me and going on in the world. And yeah, as you say, at the same time, I've really enjoyed it. The time off. You know, I've been living out of a suitcase for the last 10 years, and I've opened my suitcase once in the last year. So, you know, it's been nice to be in the one place for a long time, like learn a lot about yourself. There's a lot of like small things that I haven't done in years that like, you know, because I've been away and been on the move all the time, that, you know, you take for granted, like cleaning the house, you know, cooking all the time, being in your own bed. Like they sound so simple to everyone else. And yeah, I've been enjoying being at home for a while. But yeah, interesting year. But I am not. It was when I came up with the idea to do the Royal Albert Hall thing. I was like, I was fired up, but I was like, I need something to get the fire in the belly going again, and you know, get me off the couch. Yeah. And then obviously in turn we were able to give a lot of money to our crew, but you know, I needed to get up on stage and get me going again. So when I go into the studio, I'll be fired up and yeah, and hopefully make for a good 21 if we can get out and about.
Just on the Royal Albert Hall thing, like what motivated you to do that? And I guess like how strange is it performing in an empty venue? Like it's obviously something that you wouldn't be very used to.
Yeah, well, I wanted to do a virtual gig. I'd seen a couple of people had done it. Dermot O'Leary had done one at the National History Museum, and that's in London here. And that's when I was like, right, I'd love to do one. I watched his, and it was, I mean, Dermot's Dermot. He's just off the charts. So I got fired up by that. You know, that was in a period when we were all just sitting around doing nothing. Yeah. And he was like the first to it. And I was thinking, oh, geez, I'd love to do that. You know, my fans never got to hear the album. And then the second point that came to my head was I have a whole touring crew, and I've been hearing, you know, different stories of my tour manager over the year, you know, about different crew members saying that there were literally a couple of lads were working on building sites, and like my bass player, for instance, was working on a building site, you know, who usually plays gigs constantly, even whether it be a bar or a function or whatever. I had a couple of my crew members were working in like and I always say no offense to these jobs, but it's not the job that they would like to be doing, you know, like working in Sainsbury's and Tesco's and things like that. You know, when they go from touring the world and going from tour to tour to not being able to work, I was just like, we need to make these guys money, because the furlough scheme hasn't looked after them at all because they're self-employed, and you know, for such a huge industry, the engine room of it has been completely left behind. So that was then I was fully motivated. I was like picking the best venue. You know, I seen Sir Andrew Lloyd Webber talk about how the Royal Albert Hall was on its knees. Yeah. And I was thinking, well, if the Royal Albert Hall is on its knees, then what's going on with, say, the Academy in Dublin or Whelan's or, you know, small venues around the place? So got in contact with the Royal Albert Hall, and then I was just fired up. I was like, great, well, I'm going to be able to give the fans a Saturday night in, hear the album that they never got to hear, in an incredible venue, and also pay our crew members around the place.
Brilliant, brilliant. And I guess obviously the coronavirus has forced musicians and stuff to adapt in different ways. And one thing as well you did was your new single, Moral of the Story. I think that was recorded entirely virtually. You mentioned in a previous interview.
It was recorded standing right there. There used to be a microphone there.
Like, how was that entire experience? And would that be something that you would have done beforehand, or was that just a consequence of the coronavirus, I guess?
Well, I say that, no, but all the 1D stuff was recorded in like hotel rooms, mattresses against the wall. You know, you create your own booth with, you know, you put two mattresses up and like a duvet over the top, and you know, you'd be trying to make like a condensed space. And but in terms of since then, no. Especially, I didn't meet Ash until I did the Royal Albert Hall gig. And I'd just been FaceTiming her and Zooming her and things like this to get the song vocaled, and all the chats about the song had been done virtually up until that point, which I would generally hate. Like, I hate the idea of like knowing, and sometimes you can hear it, by the way, when you listen to the radio, that they never met.
Yeah.
They never even met. We know what's going on here. And I actually hated that people would think of it like that, I suppose. But the song is just incredible, and I wasn't going to miss out on it. And being that virtual was the only way to get it done, yeah, it was very strange. But I literally stood here. I had the guy who was vocaling the song on my laptop up on here, and I was standing here with the mic, and I was nuts. And I wrote 5 minutes before I wrote before I sung, I just sat down and had Ash on FaceTime, and I wrote my part.
Crazy. I'd say a few neighbours trying to peek in the windows and stuff.
Luckily, I don't live anywhere near anyone. They can't see in, so it's all right. But no, it's pretty cool. I've done a lot of like writing this year here in the house, and I found at the start of the virus, everyone was getting creative. I found like, you know, because there was so many like live stream things going on, and everyone was trying their best to be like overly creative and make albums and things like that. And I tried that for a while, and I was just like, I'll eat over there, I watch TV there, I sit, you know, everything is happening in this apartment.
Yeah.
And I just found like the creative stuff wasn't working for me, so I just stopped and just tried to live like everyone else was living. But then in the recent months, I've started getting back into it and coming up with ideas and getting really into it. It's been nice to get the juices flowing again, and hopefully I can come across a hit at some point and get it out there.
Yeah, sure. So just the last question here is kind of a bit outside the music, I guess. So obviously music is your main focus, but you have other kind of business ventures as well. So in particular, the Modest Golf Management. And I was just wondering, could you tell us a bit about that? And is that somewhere you see yourself long-term, or do you think that music is always going to be your essential focus?
Music will always be number one. Everyone knows that. Like, I'm obsessed, but it's nice to have something like that on the side. I've obviously got other things as well, but Modest Golf is my number one. About 3 and a bit years ago, I just went to the guys who own my management company and said, can I start a sports end of Modest? And call it Modest Golf. Golf is something that I obviously love. And I just, like, I always, having friends on the golf tour and being around golf a lot, I got to see that there was a lot of young people complaining all the time about how ill-managed they are, and how, you know, just small, like, golfy type stuff that shouldn't really happen is happening to these young lads. And it's already tough enough to be an amateur golfer and turn pro, but you don't need all of this kind of bad management stuff on the side. And I just felt like, you know, with who I know and, you know, what I could create, I felt like I could help out. And obviously, being a golf nut, if I got the right players, if they go on to win tournaments, I'll feel a part of that and feel proud of, something to feel proud of. We had another European Tour win yesterday. I mean, it's just the same guy won last week as well on the European Tour. So it's just like we're on a bit of a roll at the moment. But it was tough starting a management company like that, because, you know, I'm going into a world that's existed, and you know, to them, I'm just some dude from a boy band. So it was kind of hard to, you know, put my foot down and let them know I was there and let them know I was taking it serious. Oop, there's a piano going. Let them know I was serious about it, and yeah, and just try and make a name for myself in that industry. In the last few years have been amazing, and yeah, just going from strength to strength, and hopefully making moves into America this year, and yeah, have 2 golfers in the top 30 in the world at the moment, and it's been an incredible few years for the company. But as I said, music will always be number 1 there.
Brilliant. And just before you go, I'm not going to ask you if One Direction are going to get back together, because that's kind of like the...
You'll be the only interview ever.
Yeah. Do you see yourself back in Ireland, or in the long term, or where do you see yourself in, I guess, 20, 30 years time?
Yeah, well, gosh knows, but yeah, I would love to. Trying to get back to Ireland for Christmas is tough enough. Never mind in the next 20 years. I would love to. You know, obviously a lot of what I do is happening here in London and obviously in LA and in America. A lot of my main work is there, and it's a great place. These are both great places to be in your 20s and 30s and things like that. But obviously, everyone knows how much I love Ireland. It's no secret. So at some point, I would love to live in Ireland again, and you know, when things have settled down and you know, have a bit of longevity behind me.
You've won the Masters a couple of times as well.
Sorry?
When you've won the Masters a couple of times.
Yeah, when I've won the Masters, it's a good time to move back to Ireland. But yeah, no, it's something that you can never tell. But obviously that would be the idea, yeah.
Brilliant. Listen, I'll let you go there. I know we've gone a few minutes over time. Thanks so much to speaking to us today. Really appreciate it, and congratulations again on the award. It's well deserved. So.
Thank you very much. I appreciate you guys, as I said, thinking about me, and it's such a prestigious thing, and it's a real honor for me to receive this. Again, amongst the names that have received it before me. So I really appreciate it, and yeah, thank you.
Thanks very much. Cheers.
Thanks very much. Let's see you soon.